What's up everyone, thank you for tuning in. So today I'm going to show you how I'm going to take out my gauge cluster out of my Acura Integra DA. Now, unlike traditional Civic gauge clusters to where you have to unscrew a couple stuff and then just pop this whole unit off, can't do it with the DA. This whole unit is attached to all of this. All of this needs to come out and I'll show you guys how. The reason why I'm doing this is the LEDs that illuminate the lights in the back during nighttime driving. Some of them are out, some of them aren't bright enough for me to be able to see correctly or easier, if that makes any sense. So instead of spending the same amount of money I would on replacement bulbs, I just decided to get illuminated faces for this. So I'll show you how to wire those in, and if they work out, then you'll see at the end of the video. Okay, I'm gonna work my way from the bottom going on top. So there's gonna be 2 bolts in the bottom, one here, and another one right here. And then this whole thing just pops off, just like that. These are the mounting points for where they slip in. Side. Now, honestly, by looking at all this, I'm pretty sure the previous owner took this whole dash apart and tried rattle canning it. So, yeah. Anyway, I might redo that later on. Next, you're going to have 2 bolts underneath the steering column. You're going to have one here, obviously, and there's going to be another one right here by the steering wheel tilt lever. And then once you got these 2 unscrewed, just break them loose. Okay, next, I'm going to unscrew these 2 up here. You might have a cover here. I didn't. Owner probably broke it or lost it. There's going to be another screw right here you need to undo. Then you need to remove these knobs. Simply just pull on them and they'll come right off. And then you can start wiggling all this off. Just be very careful not to break it. If you're having trouble, can use a flathead screwdriver or anything close to it that can help you aid in it. Just work your way. Just be careful not to do your best not to break it. So I'm going to continue doing that now. So for the climate control, this whole box needs to come out, and the best way to use it is if you have a really small fine tooth little screwdriver like this. Sorry about that. And just pry it open to where you can grab it. It pops off like that. Then you got to take off that screw and that screw. And sorry, one more screw back here, right back here. And then this whole unit should come off. You gotta pop these out and disconnect them. The best way I did it, if you have a tool or if you didn't use your finger, it's kind of hard filming. I was able to use my next finger just to pop them off, and once I pop this off, I just use the other side and then pop the other one off, and so on and so forth. At this point, this whole piece is ready to come off. My mistake though too, you'll need to remove these 2. Don't worry about doing these other ones, just these 2 screws for the AC climate control box. Unplug all your accessory stuff right here, put it in order. I mean, even if they're out of order for whatever reason, they only go in one way. And then just carefully pull back. And right now I still have all these accessory stuff right now still connected, so I need to unplug all 3 of these, which I'm going to do. The piece is now out, as you can see. Now for these 3, you can pop them out with pushing them from the back to disconnect them pretty easily. And also remember to disconnect this as well. That's pretty easy. I didn't have to push that out. So then now the next step is getting this cluster. Okay, to remove the cluster is pretty simple. You got 2 screws up here, one here, and then 2 screws here and here. Focus in on that for you guys. 2 at the top, 2 in the bottom. The cluster itself is out, unplugged. I should give you a closer detail on this here in a second. So then here are the plugs. I believe it's just 3 part of the harness here, and they'll only plug into the inputs that they're designated to plug into, so don't worry if you get these mixed up or whatnot. And this is your odometer, so that's important too. This one's kind of haggard. I might have to fix this thing because this just comes right off, but it worked. Last time it did, at least. So that's one thing I really don't want to have any issues with. So now onto disassembling the cluster. Okay, I'm going to proceed to take this transparent face off. Now on top, we're going to have these 2 metal brackets right here. just loosen these 2 screws, which I already have. Push this thing goes back like this, and then it just comes off. So just lift here, go forward, and then these are the hooks where it mounts to. Now what you want to do now is there's going to be 3 black little hooks there and 3 here. What you want to do, you can use a flathead screwdriver if you want, or you can use your fingers. It's not that hard. You can just try to just put pressure and then push it forward. Okay, there we go. Oh, there we go. Okay. And on the top. There you go. This piece just came off to where you reset. Alright, so real quick, back here for up top, you see this wire, this LED runs up to here, turn counterclockwise, pull the LED, and then continue to pull carefully. Just like that. Okay, there you have it. Now this black face right here, nothing's holding it in. You just slip it off carefully, and I really mean carefully on both of them because you don't want to risk breaking that. Okay, there you have it. Real quick for you, those of you who don't know. So all these right here, these are your replacement LEDs. You guys can find correct sizes on Amazon, eBay, local parts store. If you'd rather just replace that. What I just did right now, you don't have to do. All you got to do is just take this out of the car and then just replace all these LEDs if you wish to go that route. Here are the Electro Luminescence gauge face. So see how well this works. Here's what they look like. They're white. All these should look like that at night, which is pretty neat. So how am I going to go about this? So looking at this, I have a feeling that the previous owner was messing with this thing because there's a lot of stuff I'm noticing that's already been missing. Sorry about that. Like you're already missing a screw there, and there. So I don't know what this dude was trying to do, or unless he already had different gauge faces on here and decided to mess with it and ended up losing stuff. I don't know, but it definitely looks like it's been tampered with. Still works though when I drove the car, so at least that's fine. So a couple ways you can go about this that I've seen people do. Obviously, you can take these screws out. There's a way to pop these needles out. I'll show you how to do that. Or what I'm gonna do, and I've seen some other people do it as well, and the reason I'll tell you the reason why here in a second. You can actually lay the face, just try to work your way through the needle, lay the faces on top of the old existing ones. Now the reason why I'm doing that is because of, you guys can kind of see how thin that is. Oh, sorry about that. Didn't mean to zoom in on seeing how thick that is. I just figured it'd just be easier to have a more sturdier surface for these faces to sit on. And all I'm going to do is just unscrew it, screw it on this, and just see if everything holds in place. And if it looks good, then good to go on that point. So, yep, here we go. Okay, I'm going to start with the tack first. So I'm going to unscrew these 2 small screws. Now this tricky part, but let's see if this works. Cool, it works. You're not cutting anything. All it's doing is just creating, basically, you guys can understand what's going on as you see how this wire cutter is kind of concave like that. You're just creating it to where it just lifts it up gradually. There we go, give everyone what it looks like behind there. Let's see. Yeah, see, I could do it. I could do it like this, but I feel better just leaving the original face on, and then yeah, putting the new face on top of the original one. You can criticize me in the comments if you want, but it's how I feel comfortable going about it. Actually, I'll do a sheet here like this. Pretty snug, they don't gotta be super tight. Okay, put the needle back on, and honestly guys, if you want to get creative, this would be a cool time if you took this needle off. If you're not in a rush doing this project, you can paint these in a more brighter color, for example, like a safety orange or yellow or green or whatever, like a really bright color, or even shoot it with some glow-in-the-dark spray paint or paint in general, and you know, just get creative with it if you want to. Just an idea. I definitely would do that, but I wouldn't mind just doing it at a later date. I'm in no rush to do it now. Yeah, just press down, and then don't apply too much pressure on that either. And yeah, there we go. That should be it. This thing could tuck a little bit better, but oh well, it is what it is. All right, so on to the next ones. Same thing. Okay, everything is put back together, and as you can probably tell about the needle on the temperature gauge, unfortunately I did break it. So here's a tip, guys. You guys can slip the fuel as well as temperature covers on over the needles without any need to remove them. But if you do need to remove them, be very, very, very careful. So at the end of this, you see all your 4 plug wires that illuminates all these faceplates. And then here is the power supply this comes with, and basically there's all your connectors that you connect them into, and then red and black for power and ground obviously, and then there is your dim level switch that comes with this, which I am not going to use, but you can if you want to, and we're moving on to that next. In regards to the faceplates for the fuel gauge as well as the temperature, there is nothing that you can use or bolt onto to keep them steady, so I just used double-sided tape to be able to make sure they stay there and they don't end up moving during when you put everything back together. So that's an option. If you guys have any other options of being able to keep them there without having them move, then go that route if you want to. So you don't even really need to worry about these moving because they're all screwed down. And that's about it for this. I'm already loving how it's looking, minus the broken needle. Guys, I got a quick mock-up right now. So the only thing wired in to the power supply is the water temperature gauge face. So this is the dimmer switch that comes with the package. Now I'll go more in detail on how I'm gonna wire this up, but here's an example, just running lights. Okay. So and then I'm gonna adjust the dimmer. Okay. Okay, light is off. I'm gonna disconnect it because the dimmer switch is disconnected. And okay, so quick note. So if you have this connected and you have it adjusted to where that's either really dim or at high brightness, whenever you disconnect from this toggle, if you're just running just power and ground from the power box to the faces themselves, make sure to have this set to the brightness you want it before removing that. So I have it set to max on here. Now this power wire is disconnected from the original harness. So now I'm going to turn on the ring lights. It's at max brightness at all times, which is what I'm going to leave it at. So you guys don't have to do it like that, but at least now you guys know how to run power to your dimmer that's supplied with the whole package deal for the faces and whatnot. Okay, now more in depth on how I'm going to wire this. So this plug right here goes into the original dimmer switch, dimmer fader, whatever you want to call it. 3 wires, as you can see, this is what it looks like. So the one on the right is going to be consistent 12-volt power, black center is ground obviously, then the far left red is going to be your dimmer power. So remember, if you keep it set to the output you want it to be and disconnect that and leave that blank, it will turn on to the same exact brightness you have left it on prior to disconnecting this. So this is how I'm going to wire it in, and I'll go from there. And I'm going to show you more options now that this video is turning into also how to wire in a water temperature gauge aftermarket. I'll show you where some 12-volt power you guys can draw from inside the car. Okay, so everything from the faces is connected to the power supply. There should be a total of 4 of them. I don't think it matters, and I'm pretty sure, I'm like 99% sure it doesn't matter which plugs they plug into, it's all being powered. And you guys can mount this power supply either using double-sided tape or screw it down someplace. I just hit it back here just because when I put all these modules and stuff back in, or sorry, not modules, but you know what I'm talking about. When I put them back into the dash, I don't think there's gonna be enough room to hide them back here. So now I'm gonna proceed to hook everything back up in here and set the gauge cluster back in the dash. Everything's pretty much set to go for the gauge faces. Now onto the water temperature gauge. But before I get to that, I'm gonna show you guys something pretty cool real quick. Hopefully Fred will get to know something. Okay, so you see right here, here's where the fuse is, here's this area. All these are 12 volt for accessories if you were to install anything aftermarket that needs a 12 volt source. So I'm going to show you real quick. So right now the key is at fully off, and poking it around the test light, nothing's coming on. Okay, now this is just with the running lights on. Everything else, nothing. Now, obviously that'll run with the headlights on as well. Key on first position. Okay, sorry guys, sorry for nothing there. We got power there, no power there. Okay, second position. No power there, which I'm gonna assume that only gets powered when the car is fully running. Power in the center, power to the far right, and obviously this is a switch right here off the running lights and headlights. So I'm going to be running the water temperature sensor power, 12 volt power, off of this one right here. Okay, so there's about a rough area where I'm going to put it. About there over the original one. You see I'm going to have to the rest of these wires tucked once I get it all extended. So where I ran this, by the way, this is a Bosch mechanical temp gauge. Not the best, but it works. That's pretty cool. Eagle Talon just drove by. Anyway, so I'm running this. Well, it's tucked now, but anyway. Here's the gas pedal and brake pedal for reference. And that's where I chose to put it through the firewall. You guys can see, remember that area. And I just have this cord that goes into the tip sending unit, which I'll show you here in a second. So where I have it tucked, thankfully molded, just make sure it's out of the way of the pedals and stuff like that. I have it actually tucked underneath this middle pan, which is pretty cool. And I said I just gotta extend power negative wire, and then put the power up to that, ground it to somewhere. I'll figure out where. Okay, I'll show you the firewall where I ran that from. Right over there, so you can see the reference where it's at. I just ran it underneath all this. There it is. Basically, one of the cool things about mechanical gauges is that even if the vehicle's off, it'll still give current temperature. So if you guys wanted to test to see if the gauge works, get a cup of hot water and just dip that sensor into the water and see if it gives any reading, to see if it works before prior to installation. Okay, here's the inline radiator hose adapter fitting. So this is going to go in line with the upper radiator hose. I'm going to show you how this works. It's pretty simple how to do this. So I got this off Amazon for about $9. I'll leave a link in the description below to where you guys can find this. It's pretty cool. It actually comes with a bleed valve. And here's a screw for it. Pretty neat. So when I accidentally want to bleed the system, it makes it pretty convenient. So the original hole in here for the temperature sensor, unfortunately, was too small. I believe it was like 1/8 thread and stuff, so it was way too small. So I ended up using a 1/2" drill bit, drilled it out, tapped it, and now I'm putting in this 1/4" in here, and make sure you put Teflon. I actually even put an O-ring on here just for extra security. That's not really needed to use Teflon, so it should end up working out. Okay, so here's the upper radiator hose. This is going to the block and this is going to the radiator. This is the section I'm gonna cut off. And for some of you guys wondering why I just won't cut in the center, the reason is for that is if I do it like that and then just add the sections on, it's gonna make these parts longer than it should be. So cutting it like this should keep it close to an overall stock length as possible. Okay guys, there you have it. That's what it looks like. I'm gonna fill up with coolant and then start her up. Okay, here she is. Everything's fully illuminated. The water temp gauge seems a lot dimmer. I mean, it is dimmer overall in comparison to these, but it is a lot brighter than it looks on camera. And for the record, I actually drove this vehicle around town today, so the temperature gauge for sure does work. So it's been about like 3 or 4 hours since I've driven it, so yeah, there guys, there you go. Sorry, it's dirty.